All right, guys, we're going to get started. And tonight, I am going to announce the features only, and then Jason is going to host the open mic, just to give me less to do. All right. It's great to have everyone here. If anyone has seen John Clayton and he's not feeling well, please send him my best, because normally he's here, so it's a little odd. All right, before we get started, I am going to announce the next event we have coming up. On August 2nd, please mark your calendar, because Wesley Scott McMasters from Carson Newman University in Tennessee will be here, and he will not come again. It was hard to get him anyway. Scott Ladotti will be here from Brooklyn. And then Jennifer Gravely, who is the head of the Library Sciences for Columbia College, will be here. So we're going to be pretty packed that day. And then in September, we're going to have Kevin Ridgway flying in from California. He just told me that he bought his ticket, so he will be here. But please, the next reading is August 2nd at 6 o'clock. Please consider coming out if you can. Okay, with that, we are very fortunate today to have 3 wonderful writers from Bloomington, Indiana. I am lucky to have heard all of them, and you will get to hear all of them today. All right, so I didn't even think about what the order was going to be, but since he has been here before, I am going to have Tony Brewer come up so that the folks who haven't been here could be a little bit later in the rotation. Yeah. So without further ado, if we could welcome up Tony Brewer.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
So it's good to be here. Yeah, I was talking with Hiromi earlier. I think this is my 7th trip to OAC over the years.
Yeah, I was talking to Joan about the only person I've ever given the hook to because they read too much was Tim.
Which is the reason I ended up here. We came to that.
No, I mean Tim did a lot of good things for a lot of people, yeah. Unintentionally so.
Yeah, he got me to that, and I don't even know how or why he got me to that big reading in St. Louis where I met everybody, and then everybody came here the next day, like Johnny and Terry, Johnny and Terry and Baldinger and Todd Kelly, like everybody, that giant pile, like 15 poets or something. And then
we did, and we had anywhere on those. We did a few of those. We did had anywhere from like 12 to 20 people sometimes.
Yeah, anyway, enough old times from us. So I made a sojourn. I was on a mission this time. I went to Clickety Clack Typewriter Shop there in Rolla, because I went there last time I was here and talked shop with Shane, who's a really nice guy, filled with typewriter lore and knowledge, and he's got an engineering background. So like I do, he loves the way typewriters work. It is just like the cultural cachet of them. He's really into how they work, and I brought him a doozy. A friend of mine picked up a 1906 Blickensderfer No. 5. If you've not seen one, he told me that it's the type of typewriter that Robert Frost used to make poems, and this thing looks like something out of Naked Lunch. It looks like it's going to scuttle around on the floor. Joan got a great picture of it. It's amazing, and so dropped it off for him to get to do some service on it. And so I wanted to read this one. This is called Trees Are Poems to a Typewriter in the Woods. I wish my head could do that, beat against a tree so hard shards of bark like words sprayed from beneath a pointy beak. My tiny brain could take it, wrap as a woodpecker's inside the prehensile blanket of a keyhole sawtooth tongue, the skin around my thick skull and eye sockets sturdy enough to withstand infinite repeated impact. And what would I do with the grubs? I'd eat them, screams and all, reverting to arboreal instinct where I perch on what I destroy or nourish myself, to nourish myself, or mark a trunk to prove I exist, inhaling cedar into hollow bones, deep in pulp and rat-a-tat-tat the pecking I produce to feed my face, my insane laugh mistaken for a ploy to attract a mate. I'd make the sound of a cartoon arrow striking a cartoon tree, my life spent killing sycamores to get the bugs, killing them slow anyway, clinging to bark I nail with my head, my tongue, as long as my body, darting out, snagging the prize inside and recoiling back around a padded gray walnut of brain. I'd relish the silence immediately after it's broken by my frantic code, then tense my neck and make a hit I'd made perfect, plumb, and true 20,000 times on this trunk alone. Feathers ruffling to repel splinters as I bore a hole to heartwood, my eyes shut, holding tight my limb, my crown, a red tuft chiseling in a blur, the only story I know to tell. Yeah, the Blickensderfer number 5 is like, if you imagine the most complicated mechanism you could think of to make an impression on a piece of paper with a piece of type, and that's what this thing is, it looks like.
Robert Frost would have given out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what Robert Frost actually reverted to longhand because he was too. Actually, that's Mark Twain. Mark Twain used a Scholes and Glidden, one of the first production typewriters, or one of the first proto-production typewriters. And I think what I heard is he wrote Life on the Mississippi on a Scholes and Glidden and hated the experience and went back to longhand and then having a secretary or someone type it up for him. But that he was writing right at the point where people were moving into type, people were moving into personal typewriters.
Now, do you know whether they have his typewriter or anything in Hannibal?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably not, because I don't think he kept it. I don't think he kept it. That's kind of apocryphal that he did that he had one and got rid of it because he didn't like it. There's only about a dozen or so Scholes and Gliddens that resemble the original. There's only a handful that still work. Featured in the documentary American Typewriter. Anyway, okay, enough typewriters. So this is from Good Job Lightning, a little book I did last year with Stubborn Mule Press. My good friend Jason Reber. I wanted to read this because it's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow, and she's from Canada, and she had never seen any of the Transformer movies. I, being a good American, have seen all the Transformer movies. And so this was I think 2 years ago on 4th of July, we watched the first Transformers movie, and I wrote this shortly after. This is called Happy Birthday, America. Megan Fox has a weird thumb, they say. I'd still put her feet in my mouth after saving the world with robots. Every neighborhood is blowing up with pyrotechnics and sirens for fires. All holidays are for assholes too. You can see it in Witwicky's eyes, the trouble Shia will get into when he's older, but Meg loved him anyway. How our decadent God shapes everything in the form of everything else for convenience when we transform. Maybe something vestigial, a claw she shivs a mate with after she comes. My cat thinks she can hide from it, but it goes on like this for weeks. Gunfire, the celebration at Qatar weddings, steely blue eyes against an orange explosion. Keep thinking evolution, but machines are ancient, going back at least to the 80s, the soundtrack of Car. Once you allow the little things, slippery slope city with junkyard rules, all sucked up into giant beams of slaves, rising. Someone lit a fuse so carefully, every explosion elicits mouths of surprise. You could see them running in the dark, lighting. And then she's in my arms on a hood. The army freak watches with metal eyes. No room for tools in this God's church. They're all monkeys with wrenches, keeping the last best American idea made by Chinese children on the road. Movies drop like recruitment posters, pointing you in a direction like a hitcher would with their thumb. So we did the big drop yesterday, this massive chapbook drop from Pure Sleeves Press, and all 5 of them sold out. All the bundles and all of the individual chapbooks on the website sold out, which is amazing to me. Old hat for John Dorsey, I'm sure.
I like the whole concept of a bundle. I've seen a lot of presses do that.
Yeah.
People will just buy everything.
Yeah,
like it sells books so much easier.
Yeah. And I thought this was a pretty epic drop because it was John Dorsey, Jason Reberg, Scott Rodati, me, and John Burroughs. And everyone was pushing it hard, and so congratulations really to everybody. So I want to read a couple of poems from Water Witch, which is kind of a strange book because I actually wrote these poems about 20 years ago and sat on it for a long time. I don't really want to get into what the whole thing is about because it doesn't really matter anymore because it was 20 years ago. I'm not even sure why I sat on it so long. I think maybe I didn't like it, or maybe it was too close to it, or not far enough away. I don't know. But I'm going to read a couple of them anyway. I think it's an interesting book, and I'm glad to finally have it kind of gathered in a single thing, and now I don't have to think about it anymore. Because I did over 20 years. I'd go back into them and look at them and think, nope, better things to do than think about that. So here we go. This is a confluence. She never had a chance. He didn't take chances. They were made of each other. One side soft and sticky with sweat and sweet, and that's the one that hit the floor. To call it a good match would be an insult to sulfur. He suffered her humorless intentions. She never took shit off nobody. Their love was primal. It was the first time they felt anything resembling love. He could taste the blood in her lips. It tasted like her heart. It tasted like his heart, she said. They were lost together, finding each other every night, surprised every morning, expecting the other to have left. Some nights hoping for it, the way a dead tree hopes for leaves. They were trapped inside skin and wrapped around each other's skin, the way a fist contains a palm, the way a garden holds a feast or famine left to chance and weather, a scarecrow and a bird that cannot admit it's a crow. And then close to the earth. Close to the earth. She has ways of scrying the future. No crystal balls or Ouija boards, no tarot cards or dreams. Her knee hurts when she's going to get laid. Her face breaks out in hives when the world is about to end. A bird flies through an open window and shits on the couch when company is coming. A spoon gets stuck in the drain when her arthritis acts up, which biannually activates a solar eclipse. And when she's thirsty, she makes a straw out of a willow branch and wanders twilight looking for the X-shaped flap she can poke it through. When she cuts herself on glitter, it means the earth is not yet dead. Scanning and riffling through foliage. When she bleeds, a storm is coming. She never knows how big, a few sprinkles or a gully washer, enough to fill a well or just enough to moisten frogs. When she's dowsing, quantity doesn't matter. And when the rod points toward hell, it means the work has just begun. When the future happens, she loses hope. And when she's hopeless is when the sky opens up. She never knows what happens next. Her eyes are firmly fixed on the ground. All right, I'm going to read another one out of here. I'm going to try this one. This is a little strange, but I think you're with me. How's everybody doing up there? We'll see how this goes. Ooh. So this is called the edgewise word. edgewise word. Impossible for anyone, living or dead, to jumpstart a body. My finished sentence knew the limits of my words, and which are false. Toxic comfort, dangerous by you, keeper. No such thing. I hear you. To know anything, it does not matter. Brains, chunky soup, buried under tchotchkes. Where I was going, went, love. At the threshold of feelings, alarms, first responses, flow of answers, neuroses of all safety, wisdom as unity. I understand. Without you, knowledge exists, unspoonable. Awards for existing. You know better which are real, codified to questions unasked, well, unspoken. Only try. I do not believe you. Impossible for anything, impossible for anyone to know anything without you, living or dead. It does not matter. Knowledge exists to jumpstart a body. Brains, chunky soup, unspoonable. Lost in my own house, buried under tchotchkes, awards for existing. My finished sentence, where I was going, went, knew, love, better. The limits of my words at the threshold of feelings, which are real and which are false alarms. First responses codified. Toxic comfort, dangerous flow of answers. Neuroses to questions unasked by you, keeper of all safety. Wisdom, well, unspoken. No such thing as unity. Only try. I hear you. I understand. I do not believe you. I'm going to do a couple more. Thanks again for having me, John. And Mark and Tony. Welcome. All you folks and Jason, all you guys. I like coming back here, obviously. Next year will be number 8. I might come back later this year. We're still maybe talking with Kyle Laws about doing a print project.
We have room for you both.
Okay, we'll see if we can. And I might come back and pick up a typewriter. I'm kind of addicted to that. He's got about 100 machines on display. I'm going to talk about it some more. He's got about 100 on display in the shop, some for sale, some are just on display. And then he opens up the closet and they're stacked floor to ceiling in their cases. He's probably got another 100 packed in this closet. And then he talked about having hundreds more that are parts machines that he's got, that he pulls parts from. And, I bring this ancient 1906, really kind of obscure typewriter in, and he's got a little box of springs, like, oh yeah, I got one in there. He had 5 of them in the store, like on display, so it's like,
Well,
What's the name of the company?
I'm still like geeking out about it. So
What was the name of the company?
Clickety
No,
clack.
the actual,
Oh, the Blickensderfer number 5.
they sound like a light arms manufacturer. That's one of those new Blickensderfer number 5s.
No, Jason, it's a German perfume.
It's
A good
it's a precursor to the Panzer.
They're liquid cool, they shoot 60 rounds a second.
but if you guys come out, you particularly come with Kyle, I'll take you to the new reading that just sprung up at a place called the Lady Lair.
Oh, where's
I don't know
that?
if you've been over there. That's in St. Louis.
Okay,
I'll take you guys over there. Kyle in particular would like it.
cool. Yeah, I'd love to. Okay, well, on that note, not really, but so this is back to Good Job Lightning. This is based on a true story that happened one night at my house. I was on a Zoom call and there was a sudden knock on the door. So this is called Bree. She openly admits she is codependent, standing on my porch in the dark after Ray ran off with her clothes. A frantic knock at my screen door, a plea for my Wi-Fi, her phone dying. She had 2 or 3 years left as long as she stayed clean, and she did through Christ, teaching her kids it's worse if you don't believe and it's real than if you believe and it isn't. Eaten up by bugs that don't bother me, She needs a ride. Ray says he's lost. Her thumbs batter the screen. What started as compassion turns to, okay, get off my porch. Her bundle of nerves wadded up spare underwear in a big bag full of wrong chargers. But I don't crack. When she is calm, she's thinking of all she gave up to stay for what felt like love, and it is. Two spirits fighting to stay and to leave, rattling off the story like a grocery list. Ray is waiting at the Exxon, nods when I pull up. She is jabbering, furious about what his fucking problem is as her door opens. Dude looks tired, worn out, beat by responsibility I claim for an hour of texting on my porch. I gladly turn over to him and pull away. And then, yeah, I'll leave you with this. These are all kind of downer relationships poems, if that's okay. I'm pretty happy with mine, so that's fine. This is called Forever. This is a Forever Home. Thank you for having me. Forever Home. I should never have called them your dogs. They were our dogs, and also their own beings. Dum-dums at the end of something get hung up on ownership, but those puppies just laughed and kept laughing with faces naturally shaped that way, never stopping loving, entangled survival dependent on us. People get fragile about steak. Some cuts are better than others. More than medium is ruined, and medium is practically burnt. Ketchup is a joke. A1 is just a smokescreen for how you fucked up. Dogs gobble down every crumb like Chateaubriand, hoovering at my feet while I'm doing dishes. The sound means something more might fall. It took a month to figure out I wasn't going back. Survival minds cannot dwell too long, back to tasting the air beside the dining table. Years go by and nothing. Then, out of nowhere, food falls. Waiting, patient, hopeful. Every preparation and cleanup, another chance to be called good and know it, to belong to someone and know it. Yours, mine, anyone's forever home. Thanks. Sweet, just tuck it right in there. Thank you, John.
All right. Before I get this going again, I'd like to thank Mark and Tony officially. Like to thank Walmart, who provided the funds for us to pay the readers here today. I'd like to thank Ed Gillard for helping be responsible for some of that grant writing that made that possible. I called Ed. I'm not sure where he is, but all right. Another round of applause for Tony Brewer. Okay, so our next reader was kind enough to have me as a feature in May at her own reading series. We don't know each other all that well yet, so I don't have any anecdotes to give you. But I'm very glad she's here. She's someone I really wanted here. If you guys, when are you guys leaving, Tony?
Tomorrow, sometime tomorrow.
Okay. Please come by my studio.
Okay.
And I'll give these guys some books that
Oh
they
yeah,
want.
yeah, sure.
So,
Yeah.
I just don't have any of the older stuff here. But without further ado, I would like to welcome up Hiromi Yoshida.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank John for inviting me, Tony, and Joan here. And I'd also like to thank Tony all over again for providing the blurb from the collection of poems from which I'm going to read tonight. I haven't had the chance to do a book launch reading for this, and it came out in October of last year. So I guess this is kind of like the official book launch, or at least part one of it, or the first time I'm going to do a book launch reading for this book. It's called Green Roses Bloom for Icarus, and it's published by Roadside Press. So I'll just read a bunch of poems from here. Throughout this book, Icarus is reconceived as a signifier of desire, just to put it really simply and shortly. All right, so Icarus burning. The Aztec heart of the sun blazes, a rush hour trail of amniotic blood across skyscraping altars of plexiglass horizons, shimmering in the golden crucible of salt-lit red sea tides. And questions pickled in formaldehyde jars. X-rated carbon copies of bones bleaching on perforated clotheslines. Twisting a ticker-tape dance through the magnetic plush of anemone fingers reaching into oversized manila envelopes. Sanctified Valentine, Utero Extremis. The seedy pulp of sunflowering high noons in boxed lunch offices, with red flowering sushi and lacquerware, sticking the polluted pollen of viscous heart, epithelial kimono silk dilating 2 dimensions of premature prognosis, broken beach of time, measured in silver teaspoons, of nauseating ether, the siren song of drowning mermaids embroidering the counterfeit gold rush fringe of stock exchanges, coin-sized overreach, toward the numb vanishing point of decimated dollars and decapitated cents. And Icarus minted in accolades of green, plunging into the copper-plate sea of acidic tears, waxing toward the boiling point on the Hudson horizon of disheveled trees in Riverside. Sinking suns and new moons giving new birth to the fallen stars in the debris of night. The harlot's jewel case flung open at the neon feet of commuters surging through the turnstiles. Roiling mass of Nikes and rollerblades and avian wings, winging home a spiked Gatorade. Jelly lights splintering through the fluorescent eyes of the nymphomaniac caravan, needling through the needy night, murmurous with the junky scroll of graffiti incantations, murmuring through the groins of iconoclastic acrobats. Green with gangrenous envy and burning bile, the new apocalypse squeezing through the tin-filled undergarments of transvestites chewing on tinsel gum wrappers and gunshot wounds, bleeding a stigmata of spare, change and jangling eyes, begging the bony hand to cast a jaundiced benediction of swiny pearls, twining rosary beads of perspiration through the tangled traffic of funereal arteries, oozing green blood and light through the eustachian tunnels of bloodshot eye vessels, blinking on jewel-strung highways, and AM radio static crackling through the dark of flying night at ground zero, below sea level. Thank you. That was actually the first poem I've ever written and published, and so it's very special for me. This one is based on a personal experience I had in New York City. That's pretty much where I grew up and where I went to school for college and grad school for English. This one is called Lunch Break. She was that quiet, soft-spoken, Black receptionist, breaking the monotony of solitary lunches that one afternoon. She invited me to join her. Welcome change from my own solitary lunches at the vast, unoccupied University Commons Lounge when I was the Dean of Students receptionist. Chance to upgrade my homemade egg salad sandwiches to Midtown Manhattan deli takeout. Bow-tie pasta tossed in pesto sauce, sliced tomatoes and mozzarella cheese marinated in balsamic vinegar and olive oil, speckled with basil leaves, crammed into styrofoam clamshell boxes while she produced her modest Tupperware leftovers from the night before. We blinked in the Central Park sunlight. Her barely audible voice seemed to emanate from the sidewalk shadows we cast at our awkward, shuffling feet. She never mentioned the snide remarks, the insolent glances she might have endured from the white editorial assistant, stalked by her solitary reception desk at 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. each day, smirking past her with her white female colleague. She was the equal opportunity poster child, the tall, blonde Midwestern CEO's secretary being the workplace supermodel who monopolized the photocopy machine, the petite Filipina accountant, her sidekick, kind of like Ginger and Marianne. They were tacitly complicit too, neither of them glancing at the Black receptionist who had been invisible like her entire race, till her final solitary lunch hour, when the impulse had coalesced in her empty belly. The askew sunlight glinted off the knife she wielded as she glided toward the hated cubicle. And Icarus fell into the Hudson River, a green millstone round the necks of New York City workers, empty clamshell boxes yawning in overflowing dumpsters. So yeah, basically she was my ex-coworker, and I guess she flipped out and was taken to a psych ward at the end. That's what happened. All right, so I'll read a bunch more overtly humorous poems and a lighter note. This one's called Icarus Superstar. No longer the most distant star from Earth, superseded by Eridel, newly discovered. Yet, Icarus remains burning, a blue supergiant, larger and brighter than the sun. Billions of light years away from our blinking eyes, unexpired spectre. Green Icarus slides into blue along the slippery light spectrum, waxing toward red light districts of the mind, reimagining corroded pennies. Superstardom was within Icarus's coin-sized overreach till he became the flipped bird itself, subversive obscene signifier, drowning in the green sea of envy, a superseded, scratched out asterisk. Icarus before the fall. Did he watch the seabirds pass over the Isle of Crete? yearning to emulate their long, wayward flight? Did he skip flat stones across the unruly, murky surface of the Aegean Sea, contemplating the next sullen supper of unleavened bread and charred meat? Did he watch his father sweating in his workshop, bending osier strips into strange compliance, shift his bored gaze toward Pasiphae's painted dolls? Did he hum wordless ditties, replicating the buzz of flies that speckled his dinner plate? Did he press a conch shell to his tingling ear, hearkening to the soft roar of predestination? Did his driftwood stylus inscribe illegible Greek letters on wet beach sand, washed away at high tide by Poseidon's mighty hand? Silly, defiant son of Daedalus, did he glance skyward and see his unnamed mother in the smirking sun that receded past his greedy reach, a greedy coin? Icarus Redux. Green roses bloomed for Icarus beneath his pasty heels when they hit the Aegean seaways with a vociferous splash. He morphed into the flipped bird at high noon when he gave the finger to the sun god Helios, falling out of the burning sky, a charred piece of debris, floating like a dust roach or a waxy speck in the blinking eye. His ego waxed as the sun waxed, shedding hot golden teeters, feathers sadly drifting from the cunningly wrought osier framework of synthetic wings upon the oily surface of the sea. Interminable canvas of sloppy experiments, choppy with roiling acrylic paint. He then became a work of art, however crappily executed, gawked at in museum galleries, featured in poems by W.H. Auden and William Carlos Williams, albeit to illustrate such things as the massive indifference of teeming human life, busy as geeky ants, and almost as blind. He even stood in for Suicide Sylvia and all the other heroic icons who failed to die the normal geriatric way. So when green roses bloomed for Icarus, green became the iconic color par excellence. Oxidized copper pennies became the tarnished currency, circulating corrosive envy and burning bile. And Icarus was minted in accolades of green. What mortician of high noon can reverse this process of oxidization, restore the clean gold face of the sun, the wings of our Copernican darling, accomplish the mission of Daedalus without unseemly detriment? Green roses bloomed for all of us when Icarus fell from the sky. All right, I'm going to read just 3 more poems out of here. This one is about Taylor Swift, but it still has an Icarus reference in it. Diva. Swift stardom, millennial Gen Z icon, sequined and bejeweled. Cubic zirconia flash across exorbitant stages, captured on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Woke, smoky-eyed diva, more pliant than plastic Barbie and less pink and compliant. moving to the correct choreography of narrow hips canceling Shakira shaking overstuffed money bags, shedding snakeskin and green pennies, striptease for a new breed of voyeurs. Swift haters do their blingless thing, shaking gray heads, wannabe millennial billionaires without the inconvenience of being hated too, or vulnerable like Icarus, falling. A squawking chicken plucked feathers floating on the oily surface of the Aegean Sea like tailored sequins. This one is called Wife, and it was prompted by a good poetry friend of mine whom I didn't think would get married, but ended up married. You know who that is, right? Siren.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I wrote this. I was thinking, okay, wife. They are actually a wife. OMG. All right, wife. The wife, suburban, life, style, goddess. Wi-Fi, fife, shrilling, beastly beatitude. Heartbeat outlined with a pink Sharpie, shedding feathers in sequence, sequentially. Chained shrewd, burnt Hestia. Aged Helen, dangling frayed apron strings. Shriveled Eve, paired Granny Smith apple slices, folded into blackbird pies, cookie cutter wife, hungering for serpent seed. And here is my final poem from this collection, Icarus Offers. This was prompted by something Tony said, I forgot what it was, but here it is, Icarus Offers. If Icarus were minted in a green penny, its obverse would be a flipped bird. Icarus sprouting fragile wings from sloping shoulder blades, shivering beneath the sun's hot scrutiny. Icarus giving the finger to his father and to the sun god Helios. Icarus was that finger itself, stroking the raggedy edge of the Aegean Sea waves, planting accolades in unlikely places. The other side of the flipped coin is always greener than its coppery obverse. Icarus burning. Thank you, John, all over, and thank you all for coming here to this reading.
You know that Icarus is one of Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriends.
Yes, there we go.
I actually have my own sort of Icarus poem that I wrote years ago about a friend of mine who jumped out of a 14th floor window at a New Year's party.
Oh my God.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
I was 23, but you don't forget stuff like that.
Nope.
Thank you again, Hiromi. Another round of applause for Hiromi. All right. So we're going to close things out. See, I shouldn't play favorites, but I do. I have Joan closing this reading because she is my favorite. I really enjoyed your work that when I heard you read last, Joan, when I was in Bloomington. I thought what you read was wonderful. I cannot remember how long ago it was that we met. I remember that you and Tony gave me a ride somewhere. It's been a little while and I'm getting old. But I don't know, it's so nice to have you here. Thank you for making this trip. And so I'd like to, and thank you all of you guys again for making the trip here. I know it's not like 15 minutes away. some people won't even come 15 minutes from here. Like, there was a couple who told me if I ever came to North Carolina, anywhere in the state, they would come hear me read. And then they found out it was an hour from their house, so they wouldn't come. So, but some people are homebodies. But okay, enough yammering for me. I would just like to welcome up Joan Hawkins.
Thank you so much, and adding my thanks to everybody else's. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. I had a tour earlier today and saw, it's just amazing what y'all are doing here, I think. I'm going to start with, this poem takes place in the 90s, so old technology. And this is something that I recorded recently for a forthcoming CD. This is called Road Trips. When my mom had her stroke, we became denizens of the road. At least 6 trips a year to Bison, South Dakota, and Hettinger, North Dakota, where the rest home was located. Traveling through Plain States outposts where you could not get NPR, CNN, the New York Times, or even Turner Classic, where all electronic network connections routed through a central switchboard. Jesus, Skip said, fiddling with the dial, trying to find some news, any news that wasn't Fox News or Strictly Local. Those trips, it was Dylan and Coltrane, Patti Smith and old radio shows, thermoses of strong black coffee brewed in out-of-the-way motels, no amenities, barely a light bulb, where Skip had to pound the TV to get any reception at all. Huddled in a bed with a chair propped under the door handle, wind whistling through rattly window panes, we squinted at fuzzy broadcasts of HUD and the Wild Bunch, read mysteries, made love, and wondered what the hell the next day would bring. Calling my son out in the morning parking lot, then stopping at a gas station for more CDs and chocolate, water, aspirin, no-dose, pulling the car out easy and slow before revving up to highway speed. Coming up from the south, Skip did 90 and better, cutting through the Badlands over to Wounded Knee, Rapid City, Sturgis, Spearfish. The Black Hills jutting straight up from the plains, so sudden and craggy dark, they always took my breath away. Skip eased up on the gas, taking time every time through the hills, stopping at the crest to drink some coffee before making the final pitch toward Bison, land of the Ojibwe, the Lakota, Nakota, Dakota Sioux, the place where my mother was born and where she returned to die. Bison, South Dakota, population 300, a town so small the first time I went there, everyone knew my name. We stopped by the bowling alley to get Mom's mail and the news before heading out to Hettinger. You take care, baby, old Jack calls. Road's bad tonight. And tell your ma old Jack says hi. Skip's fingers tapping the steering wheel, syncopated rhythm. Did you by any chance pack some Miles Davis, he'd ask as we crossed the state line into North Dakota, driving 5 more miles, always 5 more miles, in the black backcountry night. At the rest home, my mother, brittle and delicate as glass, much too frail to move to Indiana, always so bright-eyed glad to see me. That woman just had her baby, she tells me, pointing out a lady old enough to be her mother. They think I'm pregnant, but I'm not. I keep trying to tell them, but they don't believe me. Later, over tea, she says, they keep you here until you have your baby. Then they take it away and make you work in the kitchen, but they don't ostracize you. I hold her hand, tell her stories. We watch TV. Who are you? She asks. Your daughter, I tell her. You are? When we leave at night, delicate kisses. Her cheeks still so soft and the smell of her skin, I remember. I'll be back tomorrow, I tell her. Can we go to Alaska, she asks. Sure, Ma, I say. Anywhere you like. Out in the parking lot, I lean into Skip's body and search the sky for shooting stars. Hettinger, North Dakota, population 900, big enough to have a movie theater and a gift store with a small espresso bar. Farming is the main industry, and medicine. Postcards from Hettinger feature pictures of the hospital and nursing home, as though they were places you'd like to visit. Wish you were here, I bitch write on a postcard to my brother, truly. Nights in the pastime bar and grill, drinking bourbon and Dos Equis. Skip playing pool, me playing blackjack with the bikers heading south to Sturgis. Saved your old lady a bagel, Mike the biker told Skip one morning at the lodge breakfast. Tell her I hid it behind the toaster. Last one left. And smiling, Skip poured more coffee, complimented the man's bike, and pocketed some cream cheese. They think you're from New York, he said, when I came down to eat. And kissed me, closed mouth, no tongue. But still we got hard looks from the people 2 tables over, who acted like seeing properly married cream cheese kisses so early in the morning would harm the children. Shorty at the gift store learns to pull espresso the way Skip likes and brings in a line of kind of crazy jewelry that she knows I'll buy. When she sees Skip sketching one day, she asks him to make her some signs. He won't take money, asks for trade instead. And from then on, we get our coffee free. But we're always careful to buy something, leave a little goodwill behind. And when my mother dies 3 years later, Shorty tears up. I'll miss you, she tells me. Big woman bear hug. You and Mr. Both, you're my best customers. On the way home, we take a different route, up through North Dakota to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Chicago. Do you need to stop in Bison? Skip asks as we load the car, and looks relieved when I shake my head no. We pour some coffee, put on some Coltrane, let out the clutch, hit the gas. Up on the parched brown Dakota hills, abandoned tractors rust in the sun. Corn is dying in the fields. It's the 3rd year of drought. The local radio stations urge listeners to pray for rain. We drive through the land of the Chippewa, the Cree, the Lakota Sioux, and stop at a native casino for lunch. What are you thinking? Skip asks as he calls for the check. That I want to go home, I tell him. Me too, he says. Just the barest hint of a dimpled smile. It's time to hit the road. The second piece I'm going to read is actually a prose memoir piece. And this book I have a vexed relationship. I love it. But the publisher, these are all memoir pieces, and the publisher changed the heading to fiction. So at the beginning of the book, there is this apology saying that, any resemblance to people or places, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so anyway, so it walks a fine line between what he thinks was fiction and what I think is fact. This is called The Ballad of Renee and Buzz. Everyone in the small town of Preston, Iowa knew the Rice Girls were trouble. Renee, age 17, had the tallest beehive and the shortest skirts of any local high school girl. Eyelids drooping under the weight of her false eyelashes, she cultivated a look so languorous that even middle-aged men stopped in the street just to watch her. She'd been arrested at least twice for shoplifting, and once for drinking out along the open road. Her sister was even wilder. 15-year-old Beth had been spotted at the Chicken Inn, a trucker's drive outside town, a place so wicked that simply crossing the threshold turned good girls bad forever. And that's where, so the story went, she first met Buzz, introduced him to Renee, and so set the events of this story in motion. Buzz was a biker, and the first time he saw Renee, he went crazy. Went into my uncle's bar, drank 3 shots of whiskey just like that, picked a fight with Renee's father, and would have beaten him up if my cousin hadn't bounced his ass out onto the street. All this while my father was making Manhattans and martinis for the prestige set, carefully wiping the rim of the cocktail glasses before sending them into the adjoining dining room. Dad was still shaken up when he came home. What the hell got into that boy? He asked my mother. Renee, Mom answered, putting the blame on the girl where she thought it belonged. We were spending the year in Creston so my parents could help my uncle launch his newest venture, the Red Carpet Bar and Lounge. Mom and Dad worked long hours, and for whatever reason, they decided that at age 12, I did not need supervision. After school, I went to the bar. Perched on high stools, sipping Coke with a maraschino cherry added for flourish, I would read Dad impenetrable space-time problems. If a train leaves California and then stops in Lincoln, Nebraska for 2 hours, and then detours through Reno, how long does it take to get to Des Moines? Carefully polishing the bar, Dad would pretend to consider the implications of such a complex journey. Ask Sister if it's an express train, he would finally answer, helping to cement my reputation as a 6th grade smartass. When the bar opened for business at 5, I walked home and stayed alone in our little duplex apartment until 3 in the morning when my parents got off work, cooking whatever Mom had left me for dinner, finishing my homework, watching Peyton Place and the Goldwater-Johnson debates on TV. Periodically, Dad called just to check up on me, but basically, I was on my own. And that was why Renee and Buzz came to me for help. They'd been sneaking around for months. After the bar fight, Renee was forbidden to see Buzz, so she'd meet him at the gas station where he worked, or at the roller skating rink where we all went on Friday nights, or at the movies. She'd arrive with Beth and her friend Mary, and then would just disappear. The sound of Buzz's bike echoing in the alley, the only clue as to where she might have gone. And somewhere during those back alley motorcycle rides and furtive gropings in the dark, Renee and Buzz decided to elope. Just like Romeo and Juliet, she told me, squinting through her long bangs and blowing perfect O-shaped smoke rings. A Buzz thing, she said. It was late March, still cold with a lingering frost that crept like ice into my California soul. I was desperately homesick, and the novelty of spending so much time alone, just like a grown-up, had worn off. I missed the beach, missed my friends, missed the large Italian families in our old neighborhood, and the street games we kids would play, cutting off traffic for a 3-block radius, ducking in and out of each other's houses whenever we needed something. So the night that Beth and Renee arrived at my back door carrying a bag of Dairy Queen hamburgers and a pack of Marlboros, I was happy to let them in. It really is just a field back here, Beth said, giving her sister a meaningful look. I mean, someone could drive back here and nobody would even see. Just the next door neighbors, I answered. Yeah, Renee nodded, handing me a burger. What's their story? And so I chatted and chattered through a burger, a large Coke, and my first cigarette, feeling very cool, a little dangerous, and chosen. Give me a girl at an impressionable age, the old adage goes, and she is mine forever. Well, 12 is an impressionable age. And that night I belonged to Beth and Renee completely. By the time they told me Renee wanted to elope with Buzz, but that she needed my help, by the time they got to that part of the story, I would have followed them into fire. It turned out to be surprisingly easy. All I had to do was hide a suitcase for a few days. Then on PTA meeting night, when the neighbors were gone, I opened my back door and handed the suitcase to Renee. I'd wondered how she would fit it on Buzz's bike, but that fateful night he showed up in a 1962 green Impala convertible, the kind with fins. The last time I saw Renee, she was laughing as Buzz cut out over the open field, leaving little dust devils in his wake. For a few days, it seemed they might make it. And then this story would have had a very different ending. Renee and Buzz 10 years later, too many kids, too little money, ugly brawls on Saturday nights. That's what could have happened if Beth hadn't decided to join her sister. Turned out, for all her tough girl posturing, Beth was lost without Renee. So one afternoon, she went to the train station and carefully counted out the price of a one-way ticket to Reno, Nevada, in crumpled dollar bills and loose change. Story goes, she didn't even have a suitcase. Now, Mr. Johnson, the station master, could have stopped Beth, Teenage rebellion was tamer then, and for all her wild ways, Beth respected authority. She would have stayed at the station if Mr. Johnson had told her to. Sulking and slouching and furiously snapping her gum, she would have stayed until her parents came to pick her up. But Mr. J didn't like Beth, so he acted like everything was perfectly normal. Like he sold long-distance one-way tickets to unaccompanied 15-year-old girls all the time, watched her get on the train, and then as soon as the cars pulled out of the station, he called the authorities to report a runaway. They picked Beth up at the next station and took her directly to a juvenile detention center, what we girls called juvie. It was a full week before they caught up with Renee and Buzz. A long week full of sudden spring storms and high drama. We girls often saw Mrs. Rice downtown. Her face was drawn from lack of sleep and worry, and we felt sorry for her. But our deeper sympathies were with Renee. We knew she was heading for Reno, a place where she and Buzz could marry. Before and after school, we pulled out maps and tried to track the couple's trip west. My parents talked about how terrible it would be for Renee after. And they talked about Mr. Rice drinking whiskey at my uncle's bar until the wee hours, anxious for any word about his daughter. I felt guilty as hell. My stomach churned all the time, the acid swirling around the secret that sat heavy and stone-like deep inside my gut. The Baltimore Catechism didn't have a whole lot to say about tween-age girls who helped older teenagers elope, but I was pretty sure I'd committed a mortal sin. I prayed every night asking God to keep me safe until I could go to Father and confess, but I couldn't resist sneaking in a prayer for Renee and Buzz, too. And I kept checking the mailbox, waiting for the unsigned postcard that would tell me they were married. Not much happened in our little town. So when the Nevada police finally caught up with Renee and Buzz, the story spread like wildfire. The couple had stopped at a jewelry store just outside Reno to look at rings. The shopkeeper was friendly enough, but thought they looked too young to be riding around Nevada in a car with Iowa plates. And then there was the wad of cash that Buzz had flashed. So on the pretext of getting another tray of rings, he went into the back room and called the cops. You know, just to check. I imagined Renee holding her hand up to the light to see the stones sparkle and catching a flash glimpse of the state trooper car pulling up in front of the store. Imagined the couple trying to run out the back only to find more cops outside. Like I said, I'd been watching a lot of TV alone at night. I knew police show conventions by heart. However, it really came down. By the time the cops arrived, Buzz was in serious trouble. He'd stolen that fancy car and the wad of cash. He'd transported a minor across several state lines, and legally at least, he was an adult. He went to jail. As for Renee, well, her parents concocted some story about their daughter visiting an aunt somewhere up north, you know, to help her forget. But that was the kind of story parents always told when their daughters got into trouble, that old euphemism for pregnant. The couple had never gotten married, and we figured Renee had been sent to some Mary Magdalene home to have her baby and to put it up for adoption. And if she ever came back to her hometown, she'd never graduate high school, never get married. She'd end her days selling notions of the local 5 and dime, one of those sad ladies we girls saw downtown sometimes, little faded sparrow women whose glory days ended when they were only 17. My parents and I moved back to California a couple of months later, and I resumed something of a normal life. I never saw or heard from Beth or Buzz or Renee again. But to this day, when I hear old rockabilly songs about doomed teenage love, I think about their story, the ballad of Renee and Buzz. And this last that I'm going to read is a poem. This was actually part of a hybrid piece. It starts out as a prose piece where I talk about process and kind of how memories come to me and how they call my attention or don't. And it ends with this poem called The Last Time I Saw CK. The last time I saw CK, he was on the nod, sitting in a broken bottle nest in the alley behind the French bakery. Pigeons and gulls all around, pecking at crumbs, tugging his coat, shitting his hair. He was absolutely still. Punk St. Francis. The outline of who he had once been, still visible, barely. The cut of the jaw, the long, fine hands. So tall, so talented, so can you believe it handsome, that once he had been cast in every student film, every show. Now, not so, what's the word? Promising. Nose broken and badly mended, mouth so tear-twisted hard to imagine a smile. He was my son's age. He was once my son's friend. Taking from my bag a half pack of cigarettes, a bottle of juice, an apple, I left an offering, tucked $2 in his pocket, and walked away. Thank you.
All right. That was fantastic. Everybody was really, really great. I am going to allow everyone to take like 10 minutes and talk to these guys. If you want one of their books, go ahead and talk to them about that. And then when we come back up, Jason Reberg is going to host the open mic. If he is in the room, I don't see him right now. Oh, there he is. All right. Well, I just like to give him a hard time. Jason has to start assuming his duties as the Belle Authority. So this is the first. This is the first step in his 12-step program. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Just again, I'm so grateful that you guys are here. Jason, I would just say we're going to take 10 minutes. Everyone gets to talk to these guys, and then you're going to come back and host the open mic.
Okay then.
All right. Thank you, guys. If anyone wants to be on the open mic, I'm putting the list up here. No one's going to sign you up. You have to do it yourself, so come up and do it.